Week 34 of the golfing calendar, and this is the most listened to Australian golf podcast, Talk Birdie to Me. Massive thanks to our fantastic partners, the new Watch My Numbers app. Now, this is the most powerful database golf app in the world. Download from the App Store or Google Play and play smarter by using your data. And by the way, check out our bonus pod with Frank and Aidan from Watch My Numbers from a couple of weeks back. It's a ripping listen. Ping will help you play your best. Next time you watch an event on TV, have a look how many players use Ping. There's a reason for that. You can see your local golf shop or professional to arrange a Ping club fitting. The Golf Clearance Outlet in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane and Perth, and online at golfclearanceoutlet.com.au. Their GCO Live membership is a ripper. $19 a year, about $1 billion worth of value. Or just a tad under, perhaps. And got to welcome Southern Golf Club. They're on board helping out with the top 5 from today. Welcome, guys. Now, former world number 16 Nick O'Hearn and former Tour Pro Mark Allen. This is Talk Birdie to Me.
You know when you can't unsee something when you're watching golf?
There's many things I'd like to unsee, but
right.
Go on.
Right. So for the last couple of months, I've been trialling a shorter follow-through for me in my putting, and I'm putting really well. I mean, it started off 3-footers were going right in the middle. Now 4-footers are going right in the middle. Wednesday comp, Stableford style, okay? So not big pressure putts or anything, Nick, but it's working a hell of a lot better. So now, when I watch golf, I reckon everyone I watch is working on the short follow-through. Nobody's follow-through is going past their lead foot when they're practicing. Nobody's.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I can't unsee it. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to do for my top 5 a little bit later in the show, top 5 golfing technical fads that I've been watching.
Okay, fair enough. I like that. Yeah,
I've been watching it.
Well, the best at that shorter follow through I've seen is Cam Smith.
Yeah,
his stroke is just the putter almost falls into the ball.
Yes,
I think Crenshaw was a little bit the same back in the day as well. I'm more of a match the backswing follow through kind of guy. But if anything, if you have a shorter follow through, I'd much prefer that than a longer follow through.
Yeah. Now, why is it? Why does it work? I don't get it. Why? Because my whole life it was accelerate through, and then a little bit longer. I was with you to where it's your match, particularly when the greens get really quick. You just want it to match because you don't want it accelerating through. It's just harder to judge pace.
Yeah.
Why do you think? I think it's because the shoulder's slow and the club then releases if you've got a nice soft grip. That's my feeling for the 2 months that I've been trialing it. Now, you watch golf closely. You've played with the best putters going around. You were one of the best putters going around for a long time. Why do you reckon the short follow-through on putts is working and lots of golfers are now doing it?
I think it works over the longer follow-through because, again, I see this for most of our listeners out there, the amateur golfer. What I see commonly is they have the same length backswing and then they either hit the putt harder or softer depending on the length of the putt. So whether they've got a 10-footer or a 30-footer, they take the same length backswing.
Yes.
Now, if you watch the pros, what they do is they adjust the length of their backswing for the distance they need to stroke the ball.
Correct weight.
And then the follow-through is once it's gone, it's more of the putt's over with. The momentum of the putt ahead has carried them through depending on the length of the backswing. So the follow-through is almost a bit of an afterthought. And maybe they're stopping now because they're just trying to hold the face a little bit squarer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Well, I'll give you one more bit of feedback about my 2 months in the short follow-through playing. I've always had trouble keeping my head still accelerating through. But when I have a short follow-through, I no longer have the issue of keeping my head still. In fact, it makes sense. At the start, the first month of the short follow-through, I had a lot of problems with the length. Mm-hmm. But now I'm trying to keep my head still, and it's okay to have a short follow-through. That's more my mindset. Keep your head still, and it's okay if your follow-through is short. And now I'm loving it.
Yeah. Well, just thinking about it then, that makes perfect sense because if you're one of these people that lifts out a little early with the head, if you have a shorter follow-through, your head's going to stay down longer. And the first 3 or 4 feet, you actually won't see the ball because your head is locked in. And if you watch Tiger do it, who's obviously one of the best ever, Cam Smith, that's exactly what they do. The first 3 feet, you watch their head as the ball is left and they're still looking at the spot where the ball was. So Maybe you're onto something, mate.
Hey, that's enough about me.
I might give it a try now.
I think you should. Now, you've just got back from Vietnam.
I have, yeah.
Everybody I know who goes to Vietnam, whether it's just a holiday or to play some golf, come back and they absolutely love it. Well, what about you?
Exactly the same. Loved it. The food was incredible. I've never met nicer people. Everyone we met over there was so nice.
Who'd you go with? What was the story?
So Luxury Escapes is a tour group. I'm sure many people have heard of them. They wanted to do a signature series where it's a hosted event, and myself and Cameron Daddo, if you remember Cam, who's been obviously a pretty famous actor over the years, and
a rip-roaring bloke.
And a very great bloke.
We got champion fella.
And you know why we got on like a house on fire?
Why?
Because he's a fellow lefty.
Oh, is he?
Yes. And you know what else he does? The same as me. He putts right-handed.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No, I couldn't believe it.
Kindred spirits.
So we had a blast. We were filming content for an upcoming tour, which is going to happen next year. I'm sure it'll get sold out pretty quickly because if it's anything like the amount of fun we had, people are going to have a great time over there.
What about the golf courses?
Really good. Yeah, we played.
How many did you play?
4 courses. There was, let me think, Barnard Hills, Montgomery Links. I actually took a photo.
Colin Montgomery.
I've got a photo.
I'm not playing there.
I've got a photo to share with you and Dan here, Mark, because it's Cam and myself standing either side of a cardboard cutout of your favourite person. And I thought, I've got to send that to Mark. He'll love that.
Can he design courses?
This one was pretty tight, I must admit. You take plenty of golf balls. Yeah, exactly.
That would suit him.
It was a good course.
Straightest long hit I've ever seen.
My favourite was Hoyana Shores, which is a Robert Trent Jones course. Okay. And you know the grass they had out there, Mark?
Zoysia.
It was so good.
Was it good?
It was really good. I enjoyed that. And then the last course we played was Laguna Lang Co, a bit further north of Da Nang. So it was all these courses around Da Nang. Hotels, food, people, amazing. The only thing which is a bit of a challenge, depending on, is the heat. Pretty warm, but it was like, for me, it was like being back in a Florida summer.
Yeah, okay.
So you sweat pretty good. You don't have to warm up too long. That's
so
for sure.
Bermuda greens, how do you go in the grain on the Bermuda greens?
No, well, tell you what, the caddies, they are the best.
They're freaks, aren't they?
These girls, you get a female caddy all the way around. They're all covered up because of the sun and everything, but they go left lip or right lip or one grip outside. And a couple of them I thought, really? And I thought, okay, I'll trust it. And they're spot on.
Wow.
Absolutely spot on.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great trip.
Now, I'm just thinking I'm one step ahead here, okay? Just you've gone on that tour.
All right.
I've had just somebody reach out to me recently about you and I doing a tour close to home. I think the term is Mark and Nick's Golfing Adventures. Okay.
Oh, really?
So I just want to
sounds like Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Yeah. So I just want to try and just spitball this a little bit. Where are we going? Okay, and I'll give you this one thing. They have a plane that seats just over 40 people. So I think we'd have 40 people playing golf.
They do not have a plane.
Yeah, they do.
Their own plane.
No, but this plane is special, Dan, because it is 40 business class seats. It's all business class.
You've got me very intrigued now.
All right, so it's all business class and they can fly into any airport. So there's no waiting wherever we go. So if we want to do a trip, just you and I, and let's say we're playing 5 golf courses in 7 days.
Yep. Okay.
Where we start?
I'd love to do a New Zealand and a Tasmania trip. I think that would be perfect. The courses in New Zealand and the scenery, it's just stunning. It really is stunning. And selfishly, I haven't done Barnbougle or the Lost Farm or Cape Wickham and all those. So I want to see Cape Wickham. That's definitely on the agenda.
So we could do this a couple of different ways. Okay, so let's fly into Auckland.
Yes.
I don't think we can get into Tara Iti.
No, that's a tough one. TRI?
TRI, I've got 2 courses that I'm very, very keen to play.
Yes, and you'll love them both.
Okay, so we got those 2. Yep. I want to play Kari Cliffs.
Okay, that's further north, I believe. You got Cape Kidnappers.
Do you want to play Kidnappers?
From the pictures I've seen, it looks unbelievable.
But the people who've gone there have been mediocre on it.
Really?
The pictures look amazing. It's been mediocre. What about Jack's Point? I haven't played.
Well, then you got to go down to Queenstown for Jack's Point. You've got the Hills. You've got Millbrook. Those ones. I haven't played Jack's Point, but would love to play it.
Remember, we've got 5 courses to play.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we're going to have to do a Tasmania trip separately and then a New Zealand trip separately.
Well, here we go. So I reckon TRI, Kari Cliffs.
Yep.
Then we fly to Hobart.
Okay.
and then we go to Barnbougle, and then we fly across to the island, King Island.
Okay, yeah.
And
how many? There's 2 courses at Barnbougle, so hang on. Yeah, we might have to.
Well, you haven't been to the island, have you?
Well, that could be one trip, and then we'll do another one where we do New Zealand, Tasmania again, but do the other courses.
Well, hang on. You got to work with me here because we've got 5 places to play. So maybe we get to the plane. Maybe we just fly to King Island.
Maybe
in this business class fitted out plane because it's not a big one.
Can it land there?
Yeah, it's not the biggest plane, but it's all business class. It's just 40 seats.
I'm wondering how big the runway is at King Island.
Big enough. So maybe we just simply fly into King Island, and Mark and Nick's golfing adventures finishes up there.
Okay,
and then we can fly to Melbourne, drop the Melbourne people off, fly to Sydney, drop the Sydney people off, and drive to Brisbane and drop the Brizzy people off.
Wow. Gee, you're good.
I think that's the capability of this mob.
Oh, so it's almost like it'll pick people up in the city of their origin.
I reckon what we'd do is we'd leave from Sydney. Or depending on where the most people are coming from, we'd leave from that town. But I think we have the capability of dropping folks off.
Gosh.
Okay. Mark has thought this through.
He has. I think we should go and then first stop on the way back is Melbourne and then drop everyone else from there.
Well, I think that,
but that's a little selfish.
That makes sense. Well, even if we started in Melbourne, we flew to Sydney.
Sure.
And then we flew straight to
Auckland.
Auckland?
Yeah. Sounds like a great plan.
Is there an airport closer to Tara Iti so we don't have to worry about the big driver?
No. What you can do is helicopter.
Now you're talking.
But I'm not sure how.
There's like 40 people.
I know. How are we going to do that? It's going to be several trips. So.
All right. Well, just keep it in the back of your mind because the people who are doing this will be listening closely.
Really? Okay.
But I think that could be the number one of you and I just taking people to some pretty special places.
I would love to do that because we can work on their long backswing, shorter follow through at the same time.
That's right. That's right. Now, I know you were busy, but I found myself watching the US Amateur final more than I was watching the Fedex Cup.
Really?
Why would that be?
I caught up on the Fedex Cup, but maybe it was match play.
Yeah, I think it was. I think just what they were playing for.
Was it a good match?
It was a fabulous match.
Right. So them making the final, it was
Kent and Ballestai from Spain.
How do you say his name?
Ballestai.
Ballestai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ballestai. I think there's the way
probably the double L is a Y, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Ballesteros.
Yeah, so exactly. It was Ballestai. Anyway, I ended up watching Ballestai beat this kid Kent, but it was great. You know, they halved the first hole. I think Ballestai won 2, 3, and 4 in the first 18 holes.
Where was it played?
It was played at Hazeltine.
Oh, okay.
And I want you to think about this because I've got a pop quiz for you. There's an Australian link to Hazeltine.
Okay.
I'll tell you as we get closer to the turn. But it's major golf.
In a major?
In a major, there's an Australian link.
Okay.
Anyway, don't worry about that. So Ballestai got to 4 up at one stage, and then Kent came back and then ended up winning the last hole as well. So he won the match 2 up. Yeah. But a Spanish lad's going to be playing in the Masters and the US Open and probably the British Open as well. And Kent, he'll get into the Masters because he's an American.
Gotcha.
So it was terrific to watch.
So why did you favour that over the FedEx Cup?
I reckon it's what they were playing for meant so much.
Meant more than the $20 million that Hideki Matsuyama won?
Well, the other thing is too, I think, we spoke about this briefly last week, but I think the US Amateur is the number one in amateur golf to win, men and women.
Sure. Yeah, I could probably favour that over the British Amateur.
Over the British Amateur.
Yeah, for sure.
I think so. I mean, that's I would.
It's kind of the feeling you get.
It's the gut feel.
Does it get you into more tournaments than winning the British Am? That's an interesting thing to look up. We might look that one up.
That's a good question.
I have a feeling it probably does.
I'm sure you probably carry some weight. The amateur championship surely would get you into more European events.
Yeah, I'm not sure the British or the amateur, as they call it over there, would get you into the Masters, for instance. I don't know.
I think it does.
Does it?
No, it does.
Okay.
I remember Matisero got in, and a couple of our winners got into the Masters as well, who have won the amateur in the past. They all got starts in the Masters.
Okay.
So it's still big, but I just feel like, you win the US Amateur, you're getting into the big US events.
Yeah. No, I get that.
And I think that makes it bigger.
Yeah. Well, the good part about, I think, the FedEx Cup now, that they've limited it down to 3 events now. We've got this one. We had the FedEx St. Jude in Memphis. Then we got the BMW Championship in Colorado, and then the Tour Championship in Atlanta. I watched a lot of the closing stages of this one, and I think the storylines were fascinating.
Oh, huge.
Really, because it's the top 50 get into the following event. And the other massive thing about being in the top 50 is you get into all 8 signature events next year, which are $20 million
huge events,
purses or something.
No cut,
so
20 million,
crazy.
70 players.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable.
Something
so,
like
Tom Kim, his finish, for example, he finishes 6-6-6.
Oh, he did not.
Bogey, double to miss by 1. Finishes 51st.
Oh my God!
Nick Dunlap playing the last hole.
What did he do?
Has to make a par. He's in the final group. Has to make a par to finish inside the top 50. If he makes bogey, he's out.
Yeah.
Hardest tee shot in the world.
Hardest tee shot in the world.
I had a chance one year. I needed to make birdie there to get into a share of Dustin Johnson because he won the tournament. Blocked it left in the water. Yeah. And it's very, very hard. And he flushed it up the middle. Hideki again.
Flushed it.
He's one ahead, got to hit the tee shot. And my masterclass actually a bit later is going to be on Hideki's tee shot there. So I'll talk about that later.
What about his second shot? That was middle of the green and it ended up left of the pin, but that's why you aim at the middle of the green.
That's why you aim middle of the green, exactly.
It was great. And I'm with you. Just having a look at that bubble.
Well, there were 3 players moved up and 3 players went down.
Yeah, so Tom King went down 8 spots. Mackenzie Hughes went down 4 spots to finish 52nd. McNeely didn't quite do enough. He went up 6 to get the 53. And there's Min Woo as well. So Min Woo has missed that cut.
I think the other guy that went out was Jake Knapp.
Yeah.
I think he moved out of it.
That's right. And just having a look at the top 30 for the Tour Championship, Tommy Fleetwood's 31, Chris Kirk's 32, Corey Connors is 33.
So we get that in the next event. There's the bubble again. Yeah. So I think that's almost in a way more fascinating than watching the tournament.
And just on the Aussies, Adam Scott 41 and Cam Davis is at 49. So those two just need to get a little hurry on to get into the top 30.
Well, Cam was out of the top 50 for a bit. So him getting that 49th spot, because he moved down 5 spots. He started the week at 44.
Yeah.
And because he's in that top 50, he gets all 8 signature events next year, which is huge for Cam.
Yeah, absolutely enormous. Hey, just quickly too, while we're talking about it, there's a little bit of talk this week about Jon Rahm not being happy at Liv.
Oh, really?
Now, he lost in the playoff for the Liv event. Brooks Koepka had a win, which is unusual for Brooks to win something that's not a major. Well,
he's actually had the reverse year. He's won 2 Liv events this year and finished outside the top 25 and all the majors.
It's amazing,
so
isn't
normally
it?
He's the flip.
That's right.
He does well in the majors, and the events he doesn't care about that much, he usually struggles.
So the media outlet that plugged that Jon Rahm was not happy.
Okay.
They didn't give you too much detail of where it came from. It's like, it's a bit like what I do. Trust me, right? Trust me.
My source.
Trust me, this is serious, okay? But I am trustworthy because I wouldn't do it. But by God, over in America, they get smashed. So
when you say trust me, it's
I know.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm big on it.
It sounds like someone who is not trustworthy. What they might say, which I'm not suggesting is you for 1 second.
No, I tell you who my sources are, but I quite often don't tell you where it comes from who's given it to them.
Yeah.
All righty. So I kind of do the other way. What do you make of it? I mean, you reckon he's unhappy? You reckon he could? I think he could be unhappy. I think he could be.
He's getting annoyed from throughout the year. We've seen him play Liv, and he's getting annoyed with all the noise and maybe the lack of what's the right word, decorum, I guess, on the golf. But that's what you sign up for. That's what you know you're going to get. And I think maybe now he's settled in because he won just the other week and almost wins again. And I think his form's back again. I don't think his form was that great, which is why he struggled at the majors. And again, I think it's an adjustment when you go from playing 72-hole events week in, week out to playing once a month 3-round events. There's a lack of the competitive juices going, and I think he's a player that needs that fire, that competitive juices to flow.
You know what? Watching him, I reckon he's. Oh, hang on. I'll get back to Jon Rahm. Remind me, but we've got a caller. Hello. Welcome to the Talk Birdie to me hotline.
Hello. Hi, Nick, Mark, Dan. Yes. It's Marek from Seaford in Victoria here. I hope you guys are all well.
Oh, good on you, Marek. Thanks for calling in. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I only recently discovered your podcast. I actually wish I'd been listening to it from the start. I really love the format and the chat and everything. Can't wait for the new one to come out every week.
Oh, great.
Anyway, I also listened to the Golf Rules podcast with Blakey and Stuart McPhee, which I know both you and Mark and Nick, I think, have been on.
Oh, fabulous. Good on you.
Yeah. So, and I know, Mark, you were a guest recently, and Stuart was asking you about what rule changes you'd like to see.
That's right.
And you had some thoughts on the debate about changing the rules on playing out of sanded divots.
Yes.
So, so actually, I'm a mature student at the PGA Institute at Sandhurst. I'm doing their Diploma of Golf Business and Management.
Oh, half your luck. Good on you.
Yeah. So this led to a little bit of discussion amongst all of us, actually, about your thoughts on that. So I thought I'd bring it up with you guys and see what you think.
Well, first of all, my thoughts on sanded divots are you can't actually make the rule because what level of repair in that divot do we, all nod our head and go, yeah, that's a divot. Because, there's a freshly hit divot that's deep. There's a freshly hit divot that's shallow. There's a half fixed up sanded divot. There's one that's almost fixed, but it just sits down a little bit. I mean, where do you draw the line on a divot? That's my answer. And the other thing is, I just love seeing people play out of divots and hit a good shot. It just adds to how good they are.
Yeah, so this is what we were talking about because look, from our point of view, we were saying that we know there are many people in the game, and I know especially professionals and rules officials who don't want to change it. But I think you'd find if you actually did a poll, a lot of amateurs do want to change it because obviously they're not going to hit the fairway as much as a pro does. And especially we thought, for younger or new players to the game who already find it difficult, it does seem very unfair that they're punished for getting on the fairway when they actually manage to land on it. And I know, you guys were talking about this, isn't golf hard enough as it is? Like you were talking about the sand traps the other day. And then, we should be encouraging people to be able to play, in better, to be able to play better, really. So, and I think the average golfer just doesn't have the ability to hit the divot, hit out of the divot.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there, Marek, on the fact that there probably are some rules where you could have some for amateurs and you could have some for pros. I've always been a fan of bifurcating the rules where you might bring in a ball and a driver for the pros, which has limited the distance and the control that they have. But for the amateurs, have at it. Make the game as easy as possible. I think another great rule would be, the old out of bounds or lost ball for the amateur golfer. Just drop at the point of where it went over, or you lost it, and then out on the fairway rather than playing 3 off the tee. I think that's a great rule for the club golfer. But divot wise, you could also do that as well for the amateurs. But then again, you may get into some arguments with your playing partners about, I don't think that's a divot. That looks 6 weeks old, and it's just a bit of a bad lie.
But here's the thing. I like your train of thought because I'm a bit like this with gimmies. Some of the old boys. Yeah. Who have just got the shakes over a 2-footer. Okay? If it is given in a par comp or a Silver comp on a regular basis, then your handicap looks after that.
Yeah.
You might be playing off 20 with gimmies. You might be playing off 25 without them. But either way, your handicap has raised or lowered to look after the situation. So, Nick, if you are happy for people to take a drop out of a divot on a regular basis in a par or a Stableford event, then their handicap will look after the people who don't. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. The only thing I would do is if it's a stroke event or if it's a board event or if it's anything else where there is a big trophy or something a little bit special, then I think you have to start playing out of divots.
Sure. Yeah. Play by the pro rules.
Play by the
like
book. Yeah, absolutely. If we're playing for gold letters in the clubhouse, then you're playing out of that divot, mate. It's as simple as that.
I think I agree with that. I think we also, because you think about it, we do have these situations. You already said. I agree about the bifurcation and having those different rules, and we do that with rangefinders and stuff as well. So, and I think also, you were talking about whether you'd agree if it was a divot or not. I think even if you're playing in a club comp, there's quite a few subjective rules that we already do have, and I think a marker and a player would be able to agree on what a divot is. Sometimes it is pretty obvious.
Yep. Look, I'm not against it at all in handicap events. I'm not against it at all, Marek. Not against it at all. It's an interesting discussion point.
Really appreciate that, guys, and great job. And if I could just give a quick shout out to the guys at the PGA Institute, are doing a great job there, especially Glenn, who's the facilitator there. Really enjoying doing that course at the moment.
Good on you, Marek.
So hopefully see you guys out there. Thanks, guys.
Thanks again.
Awesome. Thanks, Marek.
Love the podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got gimmies, we've got hitting out of divots, all looked after by handicaps. Anything else we want to throw in there?
Maybe no double bogeys.
Mulligan off the first.
Yeah. Hey, there you go.
What else? I mean, if you've got some more, folks, let us know on our socials. Just quickly, I want to go back to Jon Rahm. Just before we go to the turn. A lot of people suggesting that his bad play before, the way he's been going lately, was attitude. I disagree. You know how he really lays off the club? I think it's been extreme since the start of this year.
Has it?
And it actually steepens on the way down. When Jon Rahm plays his best, it doesn't steepen. You can't see the shaft steepen on the way down. And I think lately that steepening has gone. So I really think it's been a technical issue. We've never seen a club that far laid off, unless you go all the way back to Brian Jones, who played a lot on the Japanese tour. Well, an old Australian like Nick. Yeah, his club was so laid off, it was unbelievable.
I remember Brian. I just never seen his golf swing.
Mate.
So okay.
He made Jon Rahm's layoff look like it was across the line, who can I think of? I'll get to somebody soon. Yeah. Anyway, I reckon it's been a technical issue.
Okay, good to know.
Whose top five is it? It's my top five.
It's your top five, mate.
Right, top five golf tuition or technical fads in the game coming up after the break.
Well, I think going to the turn, we should maybe have a bit of Vietnamese for some banh mi.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, very nice.
That sounds good.
They were good.
Thanks for listening to Talk Birdie, Simi. And if you're up for it, we'd love you to subscribe, rate and share the podcast wherever you listen. And thanks to our great partners who make the show possible, Ping, they'll help you play your best. Watch My Numbers, the most powerful database golf app in the world. And the Golf Clearance Outlet. They beat everyone's prices. Now, back to Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
I see these banh mi shops turning up everywhere, but nothing as good as what we just had.
They are good, aren't they?
It was superb. What are they like over there in Vietnam?
Incredible. I never had one before, so it was...
Oh, you never had a banh mi?
No.
Wow.
No, it's fabulous.
You could not have sounded more white than you just did then.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. No. I've had a ham and salad roll.
Oh, yeah, I don't think that counts.
Top five.
And I've got to say welcome to the Southern Golf Club, who have come on board to partner with the top five from this week. By the way, they've just opened their brand new simulator room. It's got TrackMan technology. Any member of Southern can go and use it. How good's that?
Anytime.
Anytime.
How good.
After dark.
Yeah.
Well, when they're open.
That's fantastic.
And they should all follow through of Bob Shearer, the statue out the front of the clubhouse there too.
Mate, that statue is so good. You know, they've also got the Bob Shearer Foundation down there too. And do you guys know much about that?
Oh, I know enough about it to know that they're doing a great job, and juniors coming through the club are just flourishing there.
Yeah. So it's a foundation for an elite junior who gets funding to launch their pro career, which is, I reckon it's just fantastic.
How good.
Southern have always been fabulous with juniors. Cam Percy can put up his hand, playing on the Champions Tour these days, is one of the products of the Southern Golf Club.
Right.
Yeah, nice.
Top five golf technique fads.
Fads.
Good and bad.
I was going to say, are these good or bad or both? Okay.
Bit of both.
Right.
Bit of both.
Okay.
At number five, thanks to the great Jack Nicklaus's book, Golf My Way, driving the legs. I reckon there was a period in the 70s where more players were driving legs than at any other time during our lives. I think Greg Norman used to say, you drive the legs.
And with those pants they used to wear, they were driving for show.
And I think the drive the legs went hand in hand with the reverse C.
The reverse
follow
C,
through.
yeah.
Okay.
If you drove the legs, you had to have a reverse C. Otherwise, your back was in all sorts.
At number four, thanks to Ben Hogan's 5 Fundamentals of Golf, a book that ruined my career. The plane. You know, so you're setting up and you've got the plane of
glass, right?
There's the plane of glass. There's a hole that your head sits through and you've got to swing the club underneath the plane. That was pretty big there for a while. It's made a few comebacks here and there as well. At number three, I reckon this is more to do with Australian golf than anything else. But when Greg Norman was absolutely flying, he had a one-piece takeaway. There was no wrist break at all until right at the top. And I reckon every second kid, I'll put up my hand, the one-piece takeaway.
Yeah. Everything halfway back was rocket straight, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the one-piece takeaway. At number 2, this is a new fad, the short follow-through and the putting. Enabled, if you're trying to keep your head still, it just makes sense to have a short follow-through. It really does. And it's changed the way I'm putting in the Wednesday comp.
It's a fairly, well, they used to have the old stab follow-through. Remember that back in the day? So all these fads have they come around and back and forth and so on.
Yeah. Well, when you look at Cameron Smith and what he does, and when you look at what Tiger did for a long time, he had a slightly shorter follow-through than his backswing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, the counterbalance putters, they said, oh, have a look at this new thing. But my coach said, oh, they were doing this 50 years ago.
And the number 1, it's not the way I chipped, and it's not the way you chipped, and it's not the way that Jordan Spieth chips. It's not the way that Phil Mickelson chips. And I was always big on no bounce and driving your chips. But these days, if you're not doing any practice or if you're new to the game, if you're not using the bounce when you pitch and chip, I reckon you're making the game pretty tough for yourself. So using the bounce when you chip is my number 1 golfing fad as far as technique is concerned.
I like that because I had to use the bounce in Vietnam last week a little bit on that grainy grass.
Into the grain.
Off the Zoysia, it didn't matter, but they had when I was chipping off the Bermuda into the grain, I thought, I don't practice that lead edge much anymore, so I better use a bit of bounce here, and it worked like a treat.
Hey, you've just reminded me, I said at the start of the pod that Hazeltine had an Australian link.
Oh, yes.
So have you worked it out?
Well, I'm thinking Hazeltine, who won a major there? Did Rich Beam win around there?
Yes.
He did?
Yes, he did.
Was it that year?
No.
No? Okay. Go on then.
Stop it. Hannah Green won her PGA.
I should know that. No.
And the only reason I remembered it because Hazeltine has a championship room, and in there they had Hannah Green's golf bag was there.
No, I should have. No, I feel ashamed now as a fellow Mount Lawley member.
Just while I think about it, did any of those fads make it into your fantastic video, 87,000 Ways to Simplify Golf?
None of them.
No,
not one. Not drive the legs, not playing.
None.
I might re-release it. I might re-release 87 tips to make golf simple.
Or because you got more to add to it?
Well, I think I might just get it out there. I think people need a little bit simpler way to play the game.
I agree.
What's more simple than 87 tips?
Well, that is the top 5 thanks to the Southern Golf Club in Melbourne. There's some music in the background. I don't know what that could mean, guys.
Yes, the Ping Global results for this week was the start of the Fedex Cup playoffs on the PGA Tour. They were in Memphis. A great town, actually. Remember going to Graceland. Gracetown. That's down in that's Margaret Riverway. Graceland, and seeing the whole Elvis Presley memorabilia and all that.
It's not that big, apparently.
It's a lot smaller.
Yeah,
it's a lot smaller.
I think of Graceland, and I think it's like a mansion. A huge, but apparently it's just a small little.
It's a large property, and it's not on the nicest street anymore. Apparently, back in the day, it was pretty nice, but now it's
really
not an area you really want to go down too much.
Best house on the worst street,
but
style.
Now it is, yeah. But well worth a visit if you are there. But Hideki Matsuyama, who had his wallet and his caddy and his coach had their passports stolen in London after the Olympics. I don't know if you remember that. While they were out for dinner.
So he didn't have his caddy.
He had a different caddy on the bag.
Yeah.
It looked like a fellow Japanese caddy.
Yeah.
Not sure who it was, but...
he was speaking in English because that last shot that he hit to the 72nd, he was mouthing, go,
go. Was it? Oh, fair enough. Now, do you think, as if you were the caddy who wasn't there, do you think he was going, I hope he doesn't win this week because then my job might be in danger, or are you actually cheering him on?
I reckon Hideki is the style of character that will still give him a bonus.
Oh, I'm sure he would.
Yeah,
I'm sure he would.
Yeah.
Anyway, he took a 5-shot lead into the final round and was just on cruise mode for a while. He was 2 under through 11, had the 5-shot lead still, and then he 3-putted 12.
He birdied 11. He birdied 11 to have that 5 shot
to have the 5-shot lead with 8 holes to go. And with 2 to go, he was 1 behind.
It's unbelievable.
Because he had a 3-putt on 12, hit it in the water, got it up and down on the par 3 14th, double bogeyed 15th, where he had 2 chips to try and get it on the green. And all of a sudden, Victor Hovland had the lead with 2 to go. Victor made a bogey on 17, parred the last. And then Hideki, playing the toughest 2 holes on the golf course, 17 and 18, birdied them both to end up with a 2-shot win over Hovland and Xander Schauffele, who shot a 63 that final round.
I'm looking forward to your masterclass on his
Hideki's
drive.
Tee shot. Well, it's a little bit to do with the wind and everything like that. But it was a fascinating event. Nick Dunlap, his playing partner, as I mentioned earlier, had to par the last, and he's only 20 years old. He said that was the most nervous he's felt on the golf course ever.
Pretty impressive. His drive, played safe
good
for the
iron
second.
shot. Yeah, really good finish there. So we had 3 players move inside the top 50 and 3 moved out. You mentioned the one that moved out, but Victor Hovland moved inside, which is kind of strange for the defending FedEx Cup champion.
I think he's back, actually, the way he looks.
Played well. Yeah. Dunlap as well, finishing tied for 5th, and Eric Cole shot a final round 63 to move inside the top 50. The Australians, Adam Scott was tied for 18th, and he's comfortably in next week. Jason Day tied for 22nd, along with Minwoo Lee, but unfortunately for Minwoo, he's outside that top 50, finishes in 60th place on the FedEx Cup, and Cam Davis tied for 40th.
So we got 3 next week.
3 next
Day,
week.
Scott and Davis.
You got it.
Righto.
Yep. On the LPGA Tour, they had the ISPS Honda Women's Scottish Open at Dundonald Links, which is not too far from Royal Troon, where they had the Open recently, and Ping's own, the American Lauren Coughlin. She's having a run at the moment. She got her 2nd win in 3 starts, firing a final round 69 to have a 4-shot win over the silver medalist at the Olympics.
Holy dolly.
Esther Heinzeleit from Germany. So that's 2 tournaments in a row for Esther. She's picked up the silver medal.
Wow.
This one she got a bit of cash for, though. So previously it was just the medal. Of the Australians, Gabby Ruffles, good final round 68, tied for 6th. Lydia Ko tied for 9th. Minjee Lee was leading after round 1, but has really struggled in the final round, shot a 78 to finish tied for 12th. Grace Kim tied for 15th. Steph Kyriakou tied for 33rd, and Kirsten Rudgley tied for 41st.
Just with Minjee Lee shooting some ordinary last rounds, I wouldn't be surprised if she's trying stuff.
Perhaps.
You know?
Well,
did you ever try? I mean, if you were out of the tournament, did you ever try and you feel in a final round?
She wasn't out of the tournament, though. That's the thing. She shot 78 and finished tied for 12th.
No, well, she wasn't. So what was it, 68 to? 10 shots better?
Probably pretty close to it. I didn't actually see the final rundown.
She's not testing anything now.
No, I think it's just a bad day. But and in the women's side, you've got the Open Championship, the Women's Open coming up at St Andrews next week. So maybe she tried a couple of things and it didn't work. Who knows? But anyway, it wasn't a great finish. Liv, they're at Greenbrier at White Sulphur Springs in West Virginia. Played that course. They used to have the tournament there. It's where Stuart Appleby shot final round 59 to win. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Bryson shot 58 there last year, 12 under par. But it was a shootout between Brooks Koepka and Jon Rahm. Bit of history here because Rahm defeated Koepka at the Masters last year in 2023. So these two obviously wanted to win. Koepka, though, gets his 2nd win of the year and his 5th live win to match his major count.
Wow.
He's had 5 majors and 5 live wins, so very impressive.
How'd Ripper GC go?
So they had a 1-shot lead after 2 rounds heading into the final day, and unfortunately couldn't quite get over the line. They finished 2nd to Team Smash, who had to find a replacement because if you remember last week, Graham McDowell got done for a bit of drug testing.
Oh, that's right.
He's had some Vicks nasal spray or something like that, and there was a banned substance in there.
It was considered a diuretic.
Yeah, exactly. He had a bit of a crack at some other tours who don't do as stringent testing as
So I think that crack was at all other tours.
Yes.
I think the crack.
It was at possibly one particular tour, but anyway. Yeah. So Team Smash won, Ripper was 2nd, and Legion 13 were 3rd. Of the Aussies, Mark Leishman, final round 64. Well done to him to finish tied 4th. Lucas Herbert tied for 6th. Cam Smith tied for 8th. So 3 Aussies in the top 10, and Matt Jones finished tied for 20th.
It's a shame they couldn't win the whole lot then.
Yeah, they came close, but Smash just smashed them in the final round. Pardon the pun. On the DP World Tour, they were in Prague for the Czech Masters. Unfortunately, no Aussies made the cut there, but Frenchman David Rivetto shot a final round 64 for a 4-shot win over Jesper Svensson for his maiden title on the DP World Tour. Corn Ferry Tour, we had the Magnet Champs in New Jersey, where Max McGreevy had a 3-shot win over 4 players. It's his 2nd win on the tour, And he already had his card wrapped up anyway, but he moves to second on the money list. And if you get that number one spot, that's huge because it guarantees you a full status. The Aussies, Carl Phillips made another cut but was tied for 50th, and Brett Druitt tied for 59th. Challenge Tour, they were in Viramäki in Finland, where Hayden Hopewell shot a final round 66 to finish tied for 18th. Pretty solid week for Hayden. But Sweden's Christopher Blomstrand had a one-shot win over Alex Levy and Mikael Lundberg.
Right. Can I interrupt just for a second?
Go for it.
I would like many more Australians playing on the Challenge Tour.
Same here. We did have a couple, but they missed the cuts, unfortunately.
I'd like 15 or a dozen of our guys.
Well, back in our day, we had a dozen, 15 all the time. You name it. Well, they're all on the Champions Tour now. Basically.
Yeah, that's right. Back when you were there, how many Australasians were playing? I reckon there was 25.
15 to 20, I would think, about that.
So we need more getting on that Challenge Tour somehow.
Yeah. Well, the pathways here for the PGA of Australasia, that's what they're working on with the exemptions here. So on the Epsom Tour, they were in Oregon for the Wild Horse Ladies Golf Classic. Interesting name, that one. Pornanong Fatlam had a two-shot win over Amy Lee. New Zealand's Fiona Zhu had a tie for 5th, which moves her up into number one position on the money list. So she's looking good for her card there. Also from New Zealand, Amelia Garby tied for 39th, and Perth's Madison Hinson Tolshard tied for 49th. On the Champions Tour, Richard Green had a one-shot lead going into the final round, but got overrun by Ken Tanagawa.
Kenny Tanagawa.
Had a 64 final round for a two-shot win over Richard, so he's still looking for that
Ken Tanagawa
maiden win.
Came out to Australia. I played lots of practice rounds.
Did you?
And I was paired with him all the time.
How does he hit it?
He was always working on his swing.
Okay.
He was, and I ended up.
That's unlike a pro golfer, isn't it?
I had this friendship with him, and he was always trying to get the shaft to go right through his bicep. If it didn't go through his bicep on the way back, he was headless.
All right.
So, no iPhones back in the early 90s. So we had a Polaroid, and he had his caddy trying to snap shots on the way back. Too hard.
That is too hard. They were in Calgary for this tournament. Steve Ocker was the best of the next best of the Australasians, behind Richard Green, who finished second. Steve was 6th. Cam Percy tied for 10th. Cousin Alan tied for 16th.
Well,
Stephen Allen.
Stevie.
And tied for 20th were Dave Branston and Greg Chalmers, were the best of the Australasians. On the Legends Tour over in Europe, they were in Zambia, where South African Keith Horn shot 63-64 on the weekend for a three-shot win over Brazilian Adilson de Silva. Best of the Australasians was Michael Campbell, finishing a tie for 5th. And then locally, we had the start of the Challenger PGA Tour of Australasia. They were up in Port Moresby.
Apparently the greens were hard to read.
Quite grainy, I believe.
Yes.
For the PNG Open, we were getting plenty of updates there from Frank about Aiden. Who was playing up there.
Aiden shot 65 in the third round. He did very well. Ended up finishing about 15th.
Right, okay. Yeah, but now I hope this name is right. William Briers, I think that's how you say it, had a two-shot win over James Conran, Steve's son. Back in the day. So William shot 68 final round. James shot 70. The overnight leader, Andrew Campbell, who we'd seen a lot of last year on the tour, fired a final round 72 to finish 3 back as well. So well done to William on winning the first event on the Challenger PGA Tour of Australasia. And as you mentioned, the US amateur, Jose Ballester.
Ballester. That's how they're saying it. Yeah,
became the first Spaniard to win the US amateur over Noah Kent.
Is that right? Noah Kent looked like a likely type, but
he was the favourite going into the entire event, apparently. Yeah. So look out for that name in future. And that is this week's Ping Global results.
Every time I hear you do the Ping Global results and watching on TV, it's amazing how many players use Ping gear. I mean, it's like there's tons and tons and tons of it.
Totally. Yeah. Well, you know why. Because it helps you play your best.
There we go.
Absolutely does.
Nice
All right.
tagline.
Time for some feedback, guys.
Okie doke.
Now, we've got there's two things that I want to give you a heads up that are coming up. First of all, we've got a result of our poll that we did last week on Rake-Gate.
Oh, please.
Oh, good.
Whether we should or should not do a rake pod.
I've already prepared for
I've already voted on that. I said no about 16 times.
I'm all in.
No.
Well, we'll find out the results shortly, and someone on the pod gets a whack.
Good.
Okay.
And I think it's a very unfair whack personally. So we'll get to that shortly. Rochi's written in, your mate. Hey, Marco, I wanted to let you in on a new golf term, a ray gun. It's when you think a putt's going to break and it doesn't.
It's
very good.
Apparently it's being used everywhere.
I'll bet.
Everywhere in Australia. If you think it's outside right, a couple of cups, and you hit it outside right, a couple of cups, and it stays straight, it's a ray gun. It doesn't break.
That is very funny. Brad Owen has said, he's written about the conversation last week about tall golfers.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, hey, Nick and Mark, George Archer was 6'6". He won the Masters in 69.
I'm going to just quickly cross-check that. George Archer, 6'6".
Oh, really?
Please. Yeah,
Are you saying Brad might be?
Or are you 6'4", George? Oh, you continue, and I'll just fact check.
Well, I apologise, Brad, because Mark is clearly doubting you. Haydos has written in to us, hey guys, regarding the Brisbane 2032 Olympics, rather than bag Royal Queensland, an expensive private course, I think Nudgee would be a great choice. Nudgee holds the Queensland PGA on a superb championship course, the Kurai or the Kurai. Do you know how to say that? Kurai, okay. And the course is open to the public to play. It's accessible to the Gateway Motorway, the airport and the city. The golfing community here would benefit from Nudgee being chosen as the Olympic course and the obviously injection of funds that come along with that.
Yeah, I think they've got 36 holes there too. And the grass around the greens is zoysia.
Ooh, very nice.
Just if I could interject, I'd like to formally apologise to our listener.
Yeah, Brad.
George Archer, 197 centimetres. So 6'6.5" is 200 centimetres. So he's just under, but I'll still apologise.
Mate, you can't be doubting the Wolfpack family.
He's 6'5.5".
Yeah.
6'5.25".
In your defence, he's not 6'6".
Yeah. He might have been 6'6" in his spikes.
Probably.
There you go.
I wonder if he's shorter now, because as you get older, you get shorter.
Well, let me just see if he's still walking upright.
Jack Nicklaus used to look about 6 inches taller than Gary Player, and now Gary could even be taller than Jack. So
yeah.
What major did he win? He won a major, George Archer.
The Masters.
Yeah, he won the Masters.
That's what he said.
Brad just said.
Do you even listen to this podcast?
Sometimes I don't listen.
Jeez. Now, we're talking about the Olympics a second ago with a message from Haydos. Tim Clark has said, for your information, guys, Royal Queensland is already contracted for the 2032 Olympics.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Already done.
Yep. Already done.
I was just looking for alternates.
Now, also on the Olympics, the Real Dominator has said, imagine there was a format where you could crown an individual and a team champion in the same event. Sounds a lot like Live, which you blokes bash all the time.
Bash?
Apparently.
Really? I don't think we bash it.
Don't
we just
think
have
so.
a preference for the other style.
All right. Now, this is a whack here. This is a pretty unfair whack, I reckon. This is from Mick Golfer. Dan, I love the way you elevated Nick O'Hearn to former world number 1 in your voiceover intro to last week's episode.
I saw this.
Well, that didn't happen. He's not.
No.
It didn't happen.
No, I've gone back. I've got Daz to provide what you said last week.
Really? All right. Well, let's have a listen.
Now, former world number 1 Nick O'Hearn and former tour pro Mark Allen. This is Talk Birdie to me.
You're number 1 and I'm just a tour pro.
Hey,
I love it.
Leave Dan alone. I think that's the best intro we've had all season.
Well, unlike me, I'm glad some people are listening, which is great. Very good.
Well, I do. Well, I was going to apologise, but you're pretty happy with it, Nick.
I'm more than happy. I think we should leave that in.
Just while we're whacking you, I'd like to join in the whack fest,
great.
if you don't mind. When you read the bio, when you go to talkbirdietome.com.au, it says that I've hit 12 hole-in-ones. I've made.
You've made 12 hole-in-ones.
That's right, yeah.
Wow.
Hey, you hit a 4 or you hit a 6.
Okay, Mr. Perfect.
Or you hit 100.
Wow.
By the way,
It's cricket.
did you hear last week someone made 2 holes in one in the one round?
Ridiculous.
Down at the National.
Unbelievable.
Matthew Butler, he aced the 3rd and the 18th hole. After wiping the first 2 holes of the day, he thought, this is going to be a shocker. But then he knocked it in for a 1-on-3.
The National Long Island?
Long Island, yeah.
I saw his acting too on the news.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I just read about it.
He was putting on so much mayo, but I was very happy for him.
It's a 1 in 162 million chance or something like that.
Goodness
to have 2 holes in one round.
And anytime this comes up, hello, Trevor McDonald, who had 2 holes in one in the Victorian Open at Woodlands, and the 2 prizes were on the other two holes that he had. A big cheerio, the Trev.
Message from Neil Eglinton. Neil has said, hey guys, I had the pleasure of playing Royal Adelaide recently and it got me thinking about a top 5 that you might want to do in future pods.
Yeah, right.
Top 5 golf courses with an operational train line through the course.
Can we do it now?
Ooh.
So I'm thinking.
I can only think of a couple.
There's
Royal Adelaide is one of them. Wentworth.
Where did we just Wentworth?
Wentworth.
What was the tournament? The British Open course?
Royal Troon. Yeah,
Royal
of course.
Troon.
That had one.
There's 3.
3. Does Carnoustie have a railway?
No. I'll tell you what does though. Riversdale Golf Club, where they have the Riversdale Amateur every year. It doesn't go through the course, but it is right on the boundary, and I'm paying it. There's 4.
Okay.
We'll get back to you on the 5th.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll get back to you.
They have to get a couple more too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty.
Yeah. Okay, Rake-Gate. Now, we talked about your idea last week, Mark, of doing a bonus podcast talking about rakes.
I don't think it's an idea. I think we must do it.
No. Please,
everybody.
No.
Well, we've asked the Wolfpack and we'll tell you what they said shortly. Before we do that, a couple of comments. Paul has said, if you do a Rake-Gate pod, I have an agenda for you. 1, why to rake. 2.
Hang on. A whiter?
No, why to rake.
A Y2 rake?
Why to rake? Why would you rake?
Oh,
yeah,
so he's saying why rake?
Why rake? Yeah. Why to rake?
So some courses do. So the number 1 golf course in the whole world, Pine Valley, no rakes.
No rakes, yeah.
You're just supposed to do it with your foot.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what we did through COVID, and a lot of people liked it.
Yeah. Well, you could also pick up the ball in COVID and put it on the most juicy lie you've ever done in your life.
That's why they liked it. Yeah, I get that.
The second point that Paul has for the agenda is how to rake, pull sand or push sand.
Both.
Third point, why some rake designs don't work for either pulling or pushing.
Yes.
Fourth, the placement of rakes in the bunker or out of the bunker.
Yeah. You just heard this guy just desperately wants
There's a lot of thought going on.
He loves it. He wants it like I want it.
And
I think maybe you and him should do it.
Oh, yeah. And I like this final one. Why Ivo Witten tournament players don't effing rake properly.
Yeah, because they don't care about the player behind. And they also don't care about golf karma. And golf karma will get you if you don't rake your traps properly.
So on tour, if you play into a bunker and you're in a footprint or something like that, whoever was in the group in front of you or whoever last raked the bunker, they'll go over the footage and they'll figure out who was there. Well, then that player would get fined.
It's unreal.
Even though it was the caddy. But I'll tell you what, the caddy got a good talking to, basically.
So I remember when I first joined the Australian Tour, there was a fine if you left the rake in the bunker.
Really?
It was a $500 fine back then in the early 90s.
No wonder you love rakes out of bunkers.
I mean, you had to make the cut to cover your fine back in those days.
That's a chunky fine.
Anyway, sorry, Dan, I don't want to talk about rakes anymore. Just get on with the results.
Well, no, one more comment for you. This is from Darren. I've been a club member at Keysborough for years and they've tried A, leaving them in the bunkers, B, in the bunkers but on an elevated rake holder, or C, currently out of the bunker in designated marked spots.
Yeah.
During COVID with zero raking, we just played it as it laid.
Yeah, I like the last two. Box Hill Golf Club, the great Box Hill Golf Club with the greatest ever Pro-Am in the history, the Gorilla Ladders Box Hill Pro-Am, which I run. They have the rake up off the ground. It's a little rake holder.
Seen those.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, if you've got some issues, because it does 2 things. 1, it keeps the rake out of the way. 2, it keeps it out of the trap. And 3, it does 3 things. It shows you where to put it back. So, you're always going to put it back in the right spot.
Yep, great course, Box Hill. Now, the poll results.
You live on the 4th green.
I do. Okay, against our better judgment, give us your thoughts on this question. Would you like Nick and Mark to do a bonus pod discussing rakes? No. There was two options. Yes, I want a rake pod. Although I'm just noticing now I spelled pod poid.
I'm surprised you didn't give a third option of why would you even ask this question.
Yeah. No, not a pod I want. Now, the results were close.
Seriously?
One of them was 52%. One was 48%.
Oh, no.
We're doing a pod. I can feel it.
52% said no.
Oh, thank goodness.
Bugger.
Oh, thank goodness. Otherwise, I was going to say it was rigged.
It would have been
Maybe
a
it was
good
rigged.
pod. It would have been a good listen.
Well, who knows? It's bitten the dust now. We're out. One final bit of feedback, this one from Rye. It's a question for you guys. Nick, you were talking about technology and how the average driving distance has increased. Surely Tiger and the amount of gym work he and all of these guys do these days contributes to this as much, as if not more. And also, what do you class as a sand save? Getting out comfortably or getting out with one putt?
Getting out with one putt is a sand save. Yeah.
Yes.
But for some people, it's just getting out of the bunker.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of the people I play with, a sand save is just getting it somewhere on the green. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's okay.
For sure.
The average PGA Tour player gets up and down just 53% of the time.
Correct.
Well, that's the feedback for this week. And if you want to leave some, just go to the website, talkbirdietome.com.au. You can leave a voicemail, a bit of feedback there, or we can write on the socials, email. There's a whole bunch of ways you can do it.
Now, if you're doing a masterclass on Hideki, I expect a bow after you've done the masterclass.
Hey, saw this.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those.
Okay, this week's masterclass brought to you by Watch My Numbers, Frank and the team there. You can turn your bogeys into birdies by analysing and improving your game like never before.
Golf has many ways of measuring ability and performance. But at the end of the day, it's all about the numbers. And that's where Watch My Numbers can really help.
Well, the masterclass is really, it was about Hideki's final tee shot at Memphis. Now, this tee shot is one of the hardest shots to hit because really to get it in the fairway, the ideal shape is for a right-hander a little right to left draw. The thing that was going against these players and almost helped him in a way was the fact the wind was really pumping off the left. Now, a lot of players don't hit draws with the driver, so they go to the 3-wood. A 3-wood's a much easier club to draw, I find, than the modern-day driver.
Tick.
So you saw a lot of the players trying to aim up the left, letting the wind take it across to the right. But on a tee shot like this, it was really about holding it up against the wind. Now, I'm a big fan of using the wind to your advantage off the tee. It's one of the chapters or part of one of the chapters I wrote in my latest book. And typically, I always say, use the wind, ride it, don't fight it. Now, that's a tough thing to do in the case of what Hideki had. He had to actually hit a draw up against the wind, so he pulled the 3-wood. So in a way, the draw off the tee in that case actually widened the fairway because it was holding it up and straightening the ball up. If he'd have used the wind and let it ride on it, he would have had to basically aim in the water and then let it ride the wind and come back into the fairway. A highly, highly risky shot. So the masterclass is all about, for most people out there, use the wind to your advantage by letting the ball go on the wind. If you've got driver in your hand and the wind's out coming out the left, tee it up on the right-hand side, aim up the left, let it ride it because that'll maximise the distance you get off the tee. Now, if you do find yourself where your distance isn't that big of a factor, then it's okay to hold it up into the wind because you'll actually widen the fairway and you'll have a bit more control. You need to be a fairly skilled player, obviously, to do this, to be able to shape the ball up into the wind, whether it's left to right or right to left. That's up to the individual. But in my experience, ride the wind off the tee. Don't try and fight it unless it's a fairway you really need to hit and you can hold the ball up against the wind.
Sound advice. And that hole too, where the wind was pushing the ball, it was going. If you don't want to go in the water, you let it leak. Then all of a sudden, instead
you got
of having
bunkers,
the
you got rough,
you got water, you got everything. It was a great drive.
So he hit a heck of a drive. Held it up nicely. The second shot, he, as you said, he pulled it a little bit. That's why you aim at the middle of the green.
Correct weight. So that's it, boys?
That's it.
Righto.
All right, maybe sounds like you'd start planning a trip to New Zealand and Tassie, Mark.
Mark and Nick's awesome adventures.
Well, I'll tell you what, anyone who goes on that trip might want to drop into the golf clearance outlet and stock up before they go.
Absolutely.
You will have some great gear to take on that trip.
Did I see you on a commercial or something for that where you're grabbing gear left, right and centre?
Yeah. So much golf stuff at the golf clearance. I actually bought something the other day. You know how when you buy a golf bag, it's got the cover. It always comes with it. That's kind of really a travel cover. I actually bought this see-through rain cover. I never play in the rain, but I had to on the weekend. It's so good. It's a fit-all. It's see-through. It just folds up beautifully, and it's not that great big, travel cover. That what they really are.
I was talking to Sam the other day at the golf clearance outlet, and he has invited us to come down and record a pod.
Oh, we'll do that
at one of the stores. Yep. So I reckon we have to do that.
Let's do that. All right, boys.
Sounds fun.
See you next week.
Okay. Cheers.
And thanks for listening to Talk Birdie, Simi. We appreciate you listening and getting involved. And a huge thanks to our fantastic partners. Without them, the show just wouldn't be the same. Watch My Numbers. Download the app and turn your bogeys into birdies by analysing and improving your game like never before. The Golf Clearance Outlet. Awesome prices on great gear. You can see them in Melbourne, Sydney, Brizzy, Perth, and online at golfclearanceoutlet.com.au. And Ping. See your local golf shop or professional to arrange a Ping club fitting. They'll help you play your best. If Ping's good enough for Nick O'Hearn, well, that says it all. And we'd love you to get involved with the show. You can leave a voicemail with any comments or questions at talkbirdietome.com.au or send an email or comment on the socials. And if you can share the pod with a friend, well, we'd love that. Talk Birdie Tome's executive producer is Dan Bradley at Kaizen Media. Sound design, Daryl Misson at loudzebra.com. We all know that time is precious. And when your customers call, they deserve an experience that speaks volumes about your customer service and professionalism. With loudzebra.com on-hold messaging, you can transform those waiting moments into opportunities. Greet your customers with engaging messages about your products, services, and company values. Whether it's sharing success stories, special promotions, or tips and tricks, you'll have their undivided attention. On-hold messaging from loudzebra.com.